Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. In addition, today, as always, we're on 88.1 WBFH on the radio in Bloomfield Hills and the Birmingham area, as well as on Birmingham Area Municipal Access on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and the Village of Franklin. In addition, today, as always, on the web, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link, or join us on our homepage in the small player at the top right on your web browser, and on Facebook via Facebook Live, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. And as always, joining me here in the studio is Ronnie Dahl.
Tyler, it's feeling more like July.
It is
outside today.
It is. It's already burning up out there. It's very humid already, and yeah, feeling like midsummer out there, feeling like the dog days already, and we're just in the month of June.
You know, for people such as myself that are somewhat flower challenged, let's just put it that way. Sure. I have a black thumb.
Yeah.
When the weather is this hot so soon in the season, there's a good chance my flowers don't make it until the 4th of July.
Oh no.
I try to water them, every day before I come in.
Yeah.
Because it's so hot. I guess on days like this, you probably should do it twice.
Yeah, maybe.
But still, they're already looking a little peaked.
We need that rain to come back that we had earlier on in the week. Just at night when no one's outside, it's after dark. Just whenever it's most convenient for us, of course, because that's the best time for the rain. But so we can get our plants watered. We don't have to don't have to worry about watering them during the day, and with it being so hot outside, we just know they're taken care of.
We do have sprinklers in our yard. Since we live in an association, always this time of the year, the conversation on the neighborhood chat is, when are the sprinklers coming on? Has anyone seen when the sprinklers are coming on? Because everyone's yard is starting to burn and not look so green right now.
Yeah, that's I would imagine that's a common concern this time of year, as people are tending to their yards, and maybe not as intensively as one person versus the other, and that always happens in any neighborhood. But with it being so hot, if you're not really being super intent about it and watering your lawn like you're watering all your plants, sure, it's going to look a little bit different than the neighbor that is constantly outside hour after hour tending to their lawn, because that's all they do all day long, and then complaining to you, oh, your lawn's not green enough. Who cares? It's a lawn.
It does, but it impacts the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, it does. But if your lawn is just slightly less green than the person down the street or person across from you, because they're not out there all day. Some people have jobs and lives to tend to, other than petting their lawn and making sure it's feeling okay all day long.
Oh, my stepfather used to be meticulous with his lawn. He would get with the neighbors, and this week they would mow it at this angle. The next week, the other angle, so all their lines matched. He had his own compost, and it was like walking on plush grass.
Just volunteer at the local baseball field if you want to do designs on your lawn, like a coordinated designs. Geez, join a synchronized swimming class.
Right? But it was beautiful. So one time, I do remember I had to mow the lawn. I'm a teenager, right? I don't want to mow the lawn.
Let me do it quickly, get it over with, and move on with my life.
So I just didn't do such a good job, right?
Oh.
You missed a few spots, I never had to mow the lawn again. I was like, years later, I'm like, you do realize I did that on purpose, right?
Yeah, right. I'll do it once. I'll do it so terribly that you never have me do it again. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Never had to do it.
Easy strategy.
All right, But I will say, sometimes, like with my husband, he'll mow, but then he doesn't use the blower to clean up the grass clippings and all of that. And I'm always like, you're not done.
Right, you gotta clean the clippings up, because then the clippings are just out there and they die because they're not getting the water from the roots from in the ground. And then you have people complaining that you had, dead grass all over your yard too, on top of it not being as their preferred hue of green on top of that.
Oh. Welcome to home ownership. All the things you have to look forward to, Tyler.
Yeah, all the arguments I got to look forward to and get ready for my neighbors. Oh, your yard's not green enough. Yeah, well, your face isn't green enough. Okay, get over yourself.
We do have some people in our neighborhood, though. They have amazing lawns.
Yeah, that's impressive. But,
a lot of time
don't push
on
on
their
other
lawns.
people, you know.
I don't know. But still, it makes everything look nice. Hey, we made it. It's Friday, by the way.
Yes.
Happy Friday.
Yes, very happy Friday. Nice sunny day already outside. We're feeling happy about the weekend coming up in just a few hours.
And you're sporting a tie. What you got going on today?
It's Ty K's Friday Tie Day. But don't call me Ty, please.
Yeah, my husband was like, because he's starting to go back into the office now.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm going to have to wear full suits again and start going back to the dry cleaner.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been a while.
I'm telling you.
But he gets a prompter now, right? Or is he going to continue to do the handwritten script?
He is back. Yeah, he has a prompter, so
man.
he can see, which is good.
Great.
Hey, talking about going back to work, the federal government, OSHA, after 15 months into the pandemic, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration has issued a mandatory workplace safety rule aimed at protecting workers from COVID-19, but it only applies to healthcare settings, which is a setback for some unions and worker safety advocates who had called for much broader requirements. And we do know that even the Whitmer administration was waiting for guidance from the federal government on some of their workplace safety rules and regulations and how they were going to be moving forward as well. So it's called an emergency temporary standard. The rule takes effect as soon as it's published in the Federal Register and can remain in place for up to 6 months, during which a permanent rule could be considered. So the new rule mandates that employers develop and implement a COVID-19 plan, take steps to reduce the chance of transmission, including keeping people at least 6 feet apart indoors, installing barriers between workstations where distancing is not possible, making sure ventilation systems are working properly, and providing and ensuring each employee wears a face mask when indoors, or a respirator or some other type of PPE when exposed to people with suspected or confirmed cases of COVID-19. For unvaccinated workers, employers are now required to provide paid time off to get vaccinated and to recover from any side effects from the shots. So this is the first time in the pandemic that OSHA has imposed any requirements about COVID-19 workplace safety on employers. Until now, they had really only issued recommendations. So still, it's kind of some fuzzy language in this as well. Not real clear on some of the requirements and the guidance, you know. We've seen that throughout the pandemic, though.
Yeah, especially saying healthcare settings. It makes sense because healthcare systems are still dealing with COVID-19 to some extent. Maybe not the great extent that we had a month plus ago, but they're still dealing with it. And so having new standards for the current times, still with COVID-19 in mind being in play, makes sense there. But does healthcare settings mean just hospitals and what does it mean hospitals and urgent care? Does it mean nursing homes? Does it mean long-term care facilities? What specifically does that mean? And then there needs to be greater specifics about what do you do when you're vaccinated versus unvaccinated, things that aren't entirely clear through these new working condition orders, which has been kind of characteristic of all of these now that we were adjusting things back. They're being a little less clear than maybe they were before when the restrictions were in place and they were, in most cases, quite explicit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised it's only for healthcare workers and not, the working population in general, because you think about like meat processing plants. We had so many outbreaks of COVID-19 in the early days at some of these manufacturing plants as well. But so we'll see. Hopefully, though, we're on the backside of this. The news coming in this morning, the state of Michigan has reached 60% of at least, adults having one shot of the vaccine. So not that 70%. Yeah. I think that's going to be hard to reach.
I do too, and I think that the way that it's going right now with this slow trickle, I mean, that's 60% first vaccinated. That doesn't take into account getting that second vaccine, people that maybe miss an appointment or go beyond that period of days where they need to be waiting between the first and second shot. That doesn't account for people that will be fully vaccinated down the road, and it's not, and really that first vaccination number is a good indicator, but doesn't necessarily guarantee that in a couple of weeks we're going to be at 60% fully vaccinated. And even then, trying to get to 70%, especially if you're trying to hit that 70% by the 4th of July, which was President Biden's goal, you're going to need to be picking up the pace a lot quicker than what we're currently at, which is a significantly slow trickle.
Yeah, I don't think offering free Tigers tickets are going to be getting us.
No, it's nice, but I'm not going to do it.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention providing the state of Michigan with more than $40 million to address COVID-19 related health disparities. That's according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The just over $40 million in grants was awarded to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the City of Detroit's Health Department to demonstrate the steadfast commitment to keeping equity at the center of everything that we do, says the CDC director. I always laugh when I see these statements. Yeah. Steadfast commitment. Do you know how many times I use that in my ATF quotes? The state has initiated several programs designed to increase Michigan's vaccination rate, including door-to-door outreach, free rides to clinics, as well as mobile vaccine clinics. CDC's new funding intends to reduce COVID-related health disparities, improve and increase testing and contact tracing among populations that are at higher risk. We don't really hear a lot about contact tracing right now. I think because we had so many, there was no way for the health departments to really try to track everyone.
Yeah, maybe it was just so tough for them to do it with such an influx of cases that it became overwhelming and they fell through the cracks. And now maybe it's a little bit easier for them because these cases are much like the vaccination rates being a slow trickle. These cases are really slowly trickling in, if at all. I mean, we've been under 300 new cases per day on the reported days here in Michigan for the last several, and half the counties in the state, as was reported yesterday in our articles on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, less than half the counties in the state were reporting new COVID-19 cases over the last several days. So the contact tracing is less intensive. That being said, trying to cover some of these health disparities maybe was something that should have been done before a pandemic. But that being said, if one of those silver linings coming out of this is that we do realize those disparities in the healthcare system and start to address them and move that needle forward for future crises and even times of non-crises, it's an important thing that should have been done in our community a long time ago.
Right. We will say one thing about COVID-19 in this crisis, it has highlighted so many issues that needed to be addressed in our community, not just in the healthcare industry, but obviously education and so many other areas as well. Hey, so Michigan workers manufacture the new arsenal of democracy in the war against COVID-19 with the vaccines. So a big shout out from the president. Michigan workers are helping to build that new arsenal of democracy, COVID-19 vaccines, in a modern world war against the coronavirus. That's what the president said yesterday. The shout out came in a speech ahead of the G7 summit, where Biden detailed the U.S. plan to buy 500,000 COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer and supply them to the rest of the world. Biden said Pfizer's CEO and workers at the company's manufacturing plant in Portage, Michigan, really stepped up at the critical stage in our fight against the pandemic. They pledged to step up again to make it the extra vaccine doses to aid other nations. President said it's America's humanitarian obligation to do its part to stop the pandemic and help other countries in need of the vaccines. We're not using them.
Right. And on top of that, the bigger issue, the macro issue here worldwide is that these countries are far and away from where we're at in terms of vaccinations, and where other countries as well that we have been working with are with their vaccination rates. And if we don't get the rest of the world vaccinated on top of the U.S., sure, we're going to be fine for a while, but there is a non-zero chance that COVID-19 continues to mutate beyond the point where our vaccines are effective, and we end up circling back to where we started in all of this a few years down the road. So it's critical that we do what we can as a leader in this push against COVID-19 and in the vaccination push as well, to make sure that not only our allies, but other countries that maybe we don't commonly align with on other issues are also getting themselves vaccinated and to that 70% threshold as soon as possible.
And, of course, you can always find the latest headlines. Just go to civiccentertv.com, click on coronavirus, and we post them each and every morning before heading into the studio here. With that, it is Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. We have a great show ahead for you to round out the week. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Doug Young, the owner over at Fork and Pint in Waterford there. I believe that's Waterford. Right?
Yeah, it's right around there. It's on Cass Lake.
On Cass Elizabeth. We ate there last week. It was so good. But just like every place else, I'm sure they're trying to find a few employees. So anyone out there looking for a job, head over to Fork and Pint. And also we'll be speaking with Craig Bryson with the Oakland County Road Commission about the new project that they are proposing for Orchard Lake, which is highly going to impact all of us that are within this area. So I will say the survey, I believe it ends today. We'll be talking to him more about that. What are the options that they are considering when it comes to Orchard Lake between Commerce and Middle Belt? And for everyone out there, if you like to complain, now's the time to put your 2 cents in. How do you want your neighborhood to look? I will say I'm dreading this project because traffic will be a nightmare. But all of that coming up here in the next hour of the Megacast.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Happy Friday, everyone, and it is feeling like summer out there today. You know what I like to do when it's this hot is have a nice refreshing drink on the patio.
Oh, yeah.
Outside, overlooking the water. And here, the closest thing that we can get to in our area to do that, if you're not a member of the boat club, is over at Fork and Pint. That's exactly what we did. I think it was last week sometime. With us now, Doug Young joined us on the show. He's the owner over there at Fork and Pint. Doug, how are things going? The last time we talked to you, I think we were just getting reopened.
Yes, things are going well. It almost feels like dog years. It seems like a year since we've talked with the changes and the challenges we've all faced, but yeah, we're doing well.
You by far have one of the best patios of all the restaurants in the area. Is that a big draw for you?
Yes, our summer months are big months of the year for us at the restaurant, and the patio is the draw. You know, it brings a lot of attention. A lot of people come to the lakes. We're right at the head of Dodge Park, so people will spend the afternoon at the park, and then they're hungry after if they didn't picnic, and I'm the first place. So it's like being on Mackinac Island in the summer here. It really ramps up high, which brings its challenges this year.
Well,
the labor market stuff.
Yeah, it's because thinking about that, how are you doing on employees? Because when you drive by, you have signs everywhere. Now hiring all positions.
Yes, we have been extremely aggressive, with all the stores. We have 4 stores, 2 Fork and Pints and 2 Irish taverns. But it's been a challenge. People, particularly entry level stuff, people have not been flocking back to it. And yet you hear it all the time. You see the signs everywhere, but we've been very aggressive in our social media, signage at all of our facilities on the road. We're not shy to ask for help. We all of the restaurant and hospitality industry needs it, and we go after it aggressively to do the best we can.
So with that, Doug, because as we're starting to emerge out of the pandemic, you're hoping to recoup some of the losses, but are you having to reduce your hours because you don't have enough staff to keep the place open?
Yes, we've reduced menu size so that the amount of staff we have, particularly in the kitchen on the menu issues, that there's less prep and less, they're going to do 100 items. It's easier to do 100 items of the same three items over and over than it is to do 100 items of 20 items. There's just that many more steps. So we've been forced for some menu reductions. We're closed at both of my Fork and Pints on Tuesdays now because I don't have enough staff to run 6 days a week.
Wow.
And my Irish taverns that typically run till 2 a.m. aren't able to extend the hours of the people that we have. So right now with the uplifting of the time curfew, we're really only trying to tackle Friday and Saturdays. We just can't open the rest of the week at that time. So labor is our constraint right now. People are coming out. People are choosing to dine and get together with friends, but all of us in the industry are very challenged in meeting those objectives. You just don't have the staff.
And we like to remind everyone, if you are going out, be kind, be nice, make sure you tip very well, but service may be a little bit slow. But Doug, I will say we were back there, I think it was just last week, and it was incredible. The food was so good. And I will say one time we went back in the pandemic when you just first reopened, it was kind of like, but this time we were like, we're so glad we came, So the service was great. It was outdoors on the patio, but the food was amazing as well. So you're doing something right over there at the Fork and Pint.
Yeah, well, hard work. That's what we do. We're a hardworking group. We've got hardworking managers and staff, and typically at this point, with my 4 restaurants, I'd be around 100 employees for all 4. We're operating, at about 70 employees for all the stores. So I'm about 30 employees short, and it's a challenge. There's lots of gas card giveaways. We have incentives for our staff, for rewarding them for working hard and going above and beyond. It's really important that you stay engaged with your staff and try to find ways to motivate them that are different than in the past. And the one thing you commented on, and thank you, is consumers, our customers. Most are fantastic, but there's sometimes I don't know if people realize what's going on in the world and their expectations or the way they handle their expectations are a little challenging. And we ask, it's not the staff's fault. Don't take it out on staff. Managers can fix any issues. But we just ask the consumers, for everybody, to be tolerant. We tip extra wherever we go. I did a quick weekend getaway last weekend up to Higgins Lake area, and it was unbelievable. All the closed restaurants, all the closed breakfast joints that we normally go to. We went to one place, and the server, as soon as we sat down, said, just so you know, all we're serving is burgers and appetizers. And I'm like, why is that? And they're like, our kitchen staff walked out last night and we had a bartender and a cook cooking today. We can't find any staff. So, we gave them $100 tip on top of our tab to tell them thank you. I give tips through drive-thrus and tell the drive-thru people, thank you for being here today. When I go to Home Depot, I thank the teller, thank you for being here today, because all of us are very strapped and the people that do show up are sometimes, forced to do more because we're shorthanded. So, I thank them because we're living it, and it's a challenge, and just ask that everybody has that patience and understanding that, everybody that's showing up for work, whatever field it's in, thank goodness.
I love to hear that you're trying to find ways to incentivize and pick up the morale of your own employees that did show up, because we're seeing all these incentives for people to come to workplaces. And, it's great to hear like, hey, we're supporting the ones that are here because we know they are working hard. They're doing more than what they normally would have to, and really keeping them motivated because it can be a little, let's just say, unsettling to have someone come in and get a bonus or, a hiring bonus that you maybe didn't get.
And that's the challenge in the industry is you've got your longtime employees, you've got your regular employees, and they've worked hard for you, and yet to support them because they need help around them, you're matching their pay and sometimes exceeding their pay in order to help them. And then that's a hard bridge. And then, they want to know how come they're getting paid that and, I'm paid this and I've been with you. So it drives things up. But as we see with the inflation and the price of gas and the, price of the supply chains, my U.S. food reps were in yesterday, the president of the Great Lakes region, I met yesterday, and we were talking, they had a 10,000 case order of chicken from Tyson, and they only got 3,000 cases. He goes, Tyson's only sending out 30% of orders. So here they're explaining to us on the purchasing end why they can't fill our orders because the manufacturing plants can't get enough people in there cutting up the chickens, and the truck driving industry is having a tough time. And so you have these shortages, and then everybody has to overpay to make up for them, and then it creates this inflation, and now the value of the dollar isn't what. So the kind of crazy circle going right now. Driving up cost is not the answer. It's another challenge that we're all met with now.
So with that, Doug, are you sitting here going, why did I go into this business?
It has crossed my mind a few times, yeah. And, my partner reminds me when I have my challenges, we're in the hiring business. We're in the job creation business. It happens to fall into restaurants, but if I was in the tire business, it would be, tires. But he goes, our role is to create jobs and create economies for people to create their livings on and go to school and pay their bills. And it's important that our personal ideals or egos that we have to put aside and always do what's best, attempt to do what's best to support the jobs that rely on us. Like I say, we normally run at 100. I got 70 employees that pay all their bills through our organization. So if we at the top aren't working hard, aren't trying to find people for them, aren't taking the right steps, it jeopardizes, it impacts a lot of families. So that's when I get over, why did I get into this industry? And I look at the good and the people we've met and the marriages of bartenders, servers through the years that have met in the facility. And that reminds me why I do this. We do it for the people, and we are people. All of us, we're social animals, and you got to find good in the things that you do, which might not be the main reason of why you're there as a restaurant, but it's to support these 70 families and to find 30 more join us that we can pay and help make their lives better.
So anyone out there looking for a job, all the high school kids, the college kids, this is the time to get the job. And really you can have 2 and 3 jobs, because I'm sure everyone right now is pretty flexible and with working with schedules and things of that nature. Hey, Doug, while we have you, can I ask, are you guys going to be bringing back live events at all?
Yeah, we're doing presently Friday and Saturday nights here at the N Pint. We do solo or duo entertainers. We're just starting karaoke and trivia at my other stores, my Irish Tavern. So, we don't believe that there will be another close down. We believe we're moving forward as a nation, as a country. We've all learned a lot this last year. Now with vaccinations and things just moving in the right direction, we're starting to, invest back into setting some standing operating models that we were designed to do. So we're just starting them up 2 weeks ago. A couple of stores started, so it's picking up traction. But full openings will be when we have that opportunity, because there's a cost. And if you don't have X amount of seats, spending, that cost right now for us is more advertising than a return dollar. We're getting the name out again that we're doing it. So we are ramping up that direction and feel that the worst is behind us, hopefully.
We so hope so, because we all deserve a great summer.
Around. Yeah, we do.
So with that, Doug Young with us here on the Megacast. He's one of the owners over at N Pint here in Waterford, but also Lake Orion, as well as the Irish Tavern. It has been such a hard year, but are you also worried that as all of us start to get back to work and start to live our lives, we're still forgetting about the restaurant industry? Because I feel like your industry is going to continue to struggle for at least the next 6 months. It's not going to be a fast recovery for your industry.
Yeah, no, it won't. It's, first, it just keeps going through different phases. We're in the labor phase now, but yeah, we won't be able to, when we open up fully and 100% and 2 a.m., we're not gonna be able to capitalize on it because we have a staffing issue. And then as we, I guess, catch up with the staffing issue, well, we could handle that, then we'll see what the next phase is and what challenges come. But we're in it. We figure it's not going to be till October. And for 2 of my stores that have big patios, my Lake Orion store and this one, we're going to make it. We're going to do okay, but we're going to miss our season. Right? We're going to get back to what we think is staffing normalities when we're out of our peak. But we can look forward to the future years.
Yeah, I will say, Doug, when it comes to wintertime, I enjoyed the igloos, but I will say I don't want to repeat that where that's the only option in the wintertime when it's, 10 below outside.
Yeah, they're hard to keep, at a comfortable temp. Unless, if it's 30, 40 outside, they're okay. But yeah, you get down into deep cold temperatures and they're a challenge. So I don't think there'll be the same demand. I think people will like them for uniqueness. We plan on putting them back up, maybe not as many as we ran last year, but I don't think they'll have the same demand that they had for sure.
It was definitely BYOB this past winter. Bring your own blanket.
Yeah, exactly.
A heated one at that. Doug Young with us here on the Megacast. And with that, Doug, if we can talk to you a little bit, you mentioned the supply chain. How are you trying to figure out the supply side of the house as well when you don't know, what your staffing levels are going to be and the hours that you can be open, but yet you have to try to figure out just the right amount of food to order and to get it on time so that it doesn't go bad and you can utilize it?
Again, a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking. We've got more purveyors than we've used in the past. Like I say, with the supply chains not meeting all of their orders, we're able to find things through other suppliers. Like US Foods might be out, but a Cisco or Gordon's or my Marketplace Meat, they might be able to get, part of the order. So where we used to use, 4 or 5 suppliers, we're using 8, 9 suppliers now to try to piecemeal. So you might start the beginning of the week with an 86th item or, an item none available for your consumer. And 2 days later, a supplier's a different one's able to get his hands on something and you get back up on that for the weekend. But then, it's a challenge and it just changes week to week because it's not the same problems, right? Everything's a rubber band effect. So, you have a hard time getting one product for a week and then the chain kind of catches up, but then it's a different product that goes down. And it's the same with alcohol. The state isn't able to keep up with their alcohol. So we've gone through tequila shortages, Irish whiskey shortages. The beer suppliers have been a challenge. You know, we've had trouble getting Miller Lite at times. We've had trouble getting Guinness at times. So they say it rotates through our whole selection.
You can't have a shortage of Irish whiskey in an Irish tavern.
We drive all around the state to find it. We'll make sure we have it. But yeah, it's the challenges just keep coming, but we keep a positive attitude and do the best you can.
So with that, Doug, just in another minute or two here with you on the show, anything positive that came out of this for you and your staff and your restaurants?
Absolutely. You know, any change, any challenge, there's always opportunity to better yourselves, to find out more about both ourselves and our operation and how we look at things and how we, you know, address staff to, you know, the roles we play in the community. You know, we've gotten so much praise from our local community and support and the things that we did, the things our staff did throughout this past year that, you know, again, it elevates your feelings of how you're maybe appreciated or how you're viewed. And that's been fantastic. That's been the biggest boost is, you know, we can get lost in our own little world or our own four walls and worry about our problems. But when you hear things unsolicited at the gas station or, you know, I wear hats around and people ask me things and they tell me, oh, it's great what you did. I heard your last interview or I saw you on Channel 2 and what you guys were giving away to the family. And it just puts a smile on your face and you get back in your car and you're like, we're doing the right thing, right? We're doing the right thing. People see it, they appreciate it. We're going to be okay. And in a regular world, you don't always get that. People take, you know, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, you know, taking things for granted, it's very easy to do. So the challenges we've been through and the responses we've been getting remind us this isn't ordinary. This isn't normal. This is, you know, challenges that we've met and we've done well and people see it and they appreciate it and it gives you that energy to move forward and you know, keep fighting the fight.
Helps you face another day.
That's right.
Which in today's world is like, what, dog days. So really one day is like 7 days?
Yeah.
Doug Young with us here on the Megacast. Anyone out there, we will say, please continue to support a local because, Doug, as you just mentioned, you know, it's restaurants such as yours that you not only employ, you know, the kids in the neighborhood or, you know, the moms in the neighborhood, you're also a part of the community and you make us unique by having your restaurant here. And so we need to remind everyone, continue to support as we move out of this pandemic. And anyone out there, maybe just take one shift, right? If someone can just work one shift a week, that would help you out.
Yeah, we have a lot of, you know, part-time people right now that are, you know, helping us, helping themselves, and it's great. And in the past, right, everybody's been pretty much full-time. But yeah, now we're all very flexible. The whole industry is very flexible to get any support that we can.
I would imagine best way to apply for a job, just either stop in or online?
Yeah, stop in. We don't have an online portal. We do like to meet with the individual. So yeah, I mean, you can stop in. We're running $400 signing bonuses. So you work 90 days, you get $400. We're running $100 referrals for all of our staff or anybody new. If they come in and start and the next day they bring a friend with them, that friend works 30 days, they get a $100 bonus. So we've got about 16 people through my stores right now that have started on this program. So come the fall or the end of summer here. And it depends, right? You work 2 days, it's going to take longer to get to your 90 days. You work 4 or 5 days a week, it's going to be a lot quicker. But yeah, come in. There's extra money on top of the money you're going to make. And I'll tell you, they're making money. The staff is, you know, the consumers are tipping very well as a general statement, and the staff does well. So there's money to be made. You know, you feel good that you're part of a team, that you're making a difference, that you are adding to your community. If you go out and support any place that needs help. But I'll take it.
Exactly. And plus, we really hope that you get the help that you need in the peak of your summer months as well to help make up for so many of those lost revenues. Doug Young with us here on the Megacast, Fork and Pint. Support them. Doug, we so appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much, Ronnie.
Good luck to you. We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, Craig Bryson will be with us from the Oakland County Road Commission. That's next here on the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Thank you for taking time to be with us on the Megacast Friday edition. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe. You can catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can listen to us on the radio if you're out driving around. 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And if that doesn't work for you, if you're at work surfing the internet, just pull us up on Facebook. You can watch the show there. We're live streaming on our Facebook page today as well. Tyler, we do know with COVID, so many of us need to go on a little bit of a diet. Not you. You've probably been skinny all your life. You can eat a pound of cookies and not gain an ounce, right?
That's debatable.
So many of us, it's like the freshman 15.
Sure.
Well, it's the COVID 20. But it really makes you wonder, what is a road diet?
Oh. I hope it's not eating gravel. That's
good response. I was surprised at this terminology, but once you actually dig into it, you'll understand it. With us now, let's bring in Craig Bryson. He's the Senior Communications Manager at the Road Commission for Oakland County. Craig, great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm great, Ronnie. How are you? Good to be back.
How'd you guys come up with the terminology, a road diet?
It's been in the field for a little while. I think it came around maybe 10 or 15 years ago when people started looking at something that was kind of counterintuitive, and that is, if you actually reduce the number of lanes on a road, can you improve the performance? Can you enhance the community? And people started to realize in some cases there's benefits of doing that, and it's an interesting way to identify something, and people kind of, as you did, I think, when they think about it a little bit, learn about it, it makes a lot of sense, and they remember the term.
With this, as someone who lives in this area, I am not looking forward to this project in the least bit, because traffic is going to be a nightmare. But I will say something needs to be done, and what we're talking about is the stretch of Orchard Lake from Commerce to Middle Belt, because traffic, especially around that curve there at Ward's Point, can get a bit dangerous. A lot of people just don't realize there's a traffic light there as well, so something needs to be done. So tell us more about the survey.
Yeah, so not only is it the Ward's Point and the traffic volume. That's a 4-lane road with no center left turn lane, which is really kind of an old-fashioned configuration. We don't build roads like that anymore because people turn left. And when there's not a left turn lane, they have to turn from one of the through lanes. And what we see inevitably in that kind of configuration is you have an increase in crashes. You have rear end crashes where people aren't expecting the car in front of them to stop to turn left and they run into them. Or we see sideswipe crashes where a car is not expecting the car in front of them to stop to turn left and they quickly shift lanes and not realizing there's a car next to them and they slam into the car next to them. So we do have pretty high crash numbers on that road. I think we've got, 389 crashes over a 3-year period from 2017 to 2019 in that section of road. And they're predominantly those rear end collisions and sideswipe collisions caused by the lack of a turn lane. So the question becomes, what do you do to solve that problem? And because, as you know, it's a pretty well-developed area, there's not a lot of room to expand the road. And the federal funding that we got for 2023 for the road only allows us to resurface the road. It doesn't provide any funding for purchasing additional right-of-way, nor would we necessarily want to do that, because that would mean we'd end up taking buildings and knocking down buildings. We don't want to do that. We don't want to disturb the community. There's a great commercial district there. We don't want to negatively impact that. So what can we do within the existing curbs there? So we hired a consultant to do a study, and they came up with several options. One of them was something we really hadn't ever considered before and have never done before, and that's where we reduce it from 4 through lanes, 2 lanes in either direction, to 2 through lanes in one direction, 1 through lane in the other direction with a center left turn lane. We call that the unbalanced option for obvious reasons. That's one option. The other option is a traditional 3-lane road where we just drop each direction to 1 lane in each direction and a center left turn lane. The problem with the 3-lane option is it significantly reduces traffic capacity and is likely to cause further backup. Our computer modeling suggests there would be increased congestion. With the unbalanced option, there would actually be most situations less congestion and safety improvements in both directions. So this is new, it's different. We want to find out what the public thinks of this. So we've put up a survey and asked for public feedback on this.
So with that, Craig, the way you just explained it, can I take back my multiple surveys that I may have already done? But
well, once they're submitted, they're submitted.
Because I do it maybe for my husband, because he's not going to go online and do it, and then, talk to someone else. Maybe I do it for a neighbor, my sister, But because I will say when you're talking about I was looking at it and thinking the 3-lane would be the best option, but because the map on the survey is a little bit confusing when you're talking about, 2 one way, 1 the other with the turn lane. It looks confusing. And, considering how people are handling still roundabouts in the state of Michigan, how long is it going to take them to get used to that, do you think?
Well, I think it does look a bit confusing when you look at it in a map. I think when you actually would drive it, I think it'd be fairly intuitive. It's simply 2 through lanes. Really, if you're going westbound, there'd be very little change other than there would be a center left turn lane that you could pull in to turn. Going eastbound, you would only have the 1 through lane, but you'd have the center left turn lanes. I think it would be simpler in reality when you're experiencing it than looking at it on the map. So I don't anticipate that it would be that confusing for motorists to use.
So not as confusing as that shift in the roadway in Troy when you're coming off 75. I always feel like I'm about to go in the wrong direction and pretty soon cars are going to be speeding at me. So it's not that type of configuration then, right?
No, correct.
So with that too, I believe the survey ends today.
It does. It's open till midnight tonight, so people have a limited window to get their responses into us if they would like to. There will also, by the way, be, once this is done, we'll get back with the stakeholders, which is the leaders of the 4 communities along there, some of the business community, local developers, and we'll look at the feedback we receive from the public, and then there'll be a public information meeting to share what at that point we believe will be our proposed alternative.
And really the survey takes not even 2 minutes. So I know that the city of Kegel, most of them all have a link to it as well. There's a link through the Road Commission's page. I put one up on my social media as well. And this is one of these things, Craig, where I'm like, everyone likes to complain once the work is done. So this is your chance to put your 2 cents in as to what you want to see happen. But I will say, talking to you and having you explain the options helps a lot more than just taking the survey.
Good. It really is safety driven. This is, safety is our top priority. This is a corridor that we've been looking at for a long time, trying to figure out what we can do to reduce crashes there. And this is a really kind of a creative, interesting potential alternative, and we're kind of excited about it.
Craig Bryson with us here on the Megacast. He's the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission for Oakland County. And Craig, with that too, because that corner and that stretch, as we said, can be pretty dangerous. I know a lot of times I try to avoid it. My hairdresser is right there on that corner, and it's so hard to come out. You can't see traffic coming, and there's no back entrance, and so sometimes I just ride my bike or walk over because just avoid the headache altogether. But is there also any thought, because we do know that where the mobile home community is, which is right there in that stretch, and that's, in the discussion in the planning stages of being redeveloped. So if that's being redeveloped, was there any talk with that potential owner to try to come up with something? Because a lot of people are already concerned of the additional traffic redeveloping that area will bring to Orchard Lake.
We are not, excuse me, we are not at the moment. I'm sure Kego Harbor is. From our perspective, once there is a more specific plan, and they need permits to access the road, we'll work with them at that point. The traffic signal there is not likely to go away. It'll be a question of how they, get ingress and egress out of that development once they get real specific plans.
With that as well, Craig, it would have been nice to have done this last year in the middle of a pandemic with not a lot of traffic because
Absolutely.
I'm thinking about this. And, if you live in our area, there's really only Orchard Lake Road to get you to and from certain areas. And so I'm just picturing the orange barrels now. It's going to be a headache.
Yeah, and some of us have been involved in this long enough to remember the last time we redid Orchard Lake Road, which I think was 2000, 2001, something like that. And it was a challenge, and we worked closely with the businesses to try to make sure we kept access to all the businesses, and we'll do that again. The good thing is this is, in the big scheme of things, it could be a lot worse. This is not a complete reconstruction. It's a resurfacing. So it's not quite as intense as it could be, and we will maintain access to all the homes and businesses throughout the construction. But of course, it will be challenging when you take a lot of traffic, and during construction we'll probably close at least part of the road. We'll squeeze traffic down. It'll definitely be challenging. It is not going to happen until 2023, and the reason for that year is because we rely on federal road dollars to do this kind of a major project, and we have to apply for that money at least 3 or 4 years in advance. And we did apply for that money, and we got approved for 2023, so that'll be the year that it happens. So, the good part of that is we all have a little bit of time to prepare and anticipate, but it is coming.
What's the price tag for a project like this?
This one is, 2.3 million, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood. 2.3 million is the current estimate. We're pretty far out. We haven't done the actual design work, so that could change a bit between now and 2023, but at the current point, that's the estimate.
It's really not as bad as I thought it would be,
And that's because it's not a complete reconstruction. We're putting down new asphalt. We'll probably mill off the existing asphalt, put down new asphalt. The reconfiguration is really almost more a matter of striping than of actual road construction.
Craig Bryson with us here on the Megacast. And Craig, obviously it's summertime, which is construction season here in the lovely state of Michigan. What other projects are going on or about to go on for us to avoid the areas?
we have a ton of stuff either going on or about to start. Some of them in close proximity to you, but also all over the county. A couple of the other big ones we've got in that area, well, in Farmington Hills, we've got some Orchard Lake Road work about to start on from just south of 11 Mile up to 696. We're going to do concrete slab replacement where we come in and take out the worst concrete slabs and repair them. That's going to start this coming Monday on the 14th and go through August. There'll be lane closures in both directions, so that's going to be it's going to be a bit congested in there. As you probably know, we've got Maple Road currently closed between Franklin and Inkster to be resurfaced. That's going until late September. Another big one that's coming in that general area in Commerce Township, we've got Union Lake Road is going to close starting in July for the replacement of the culvert between Wise and Willow, which is going to be tricky. Anybody that drives that area knows it's a pretty heavily traveled road, and the detour routes are not the most convenient in the world, thanks to all the lakes in the area. But that's coming, and that'll last until the fall, so at least a couple of months. Up in Waterford, we're right in the middle of the big Walton Boulevard resurfacing project between Dixie and just east of Sashabaw Road. That remains open, 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction right now while we're doing the project. Sashabaw is closed at the south side of the Sashabaw-Walton intersection currently, but that should open on Monday.
Ooh, that's good.
Yep. Another big one on the east side of the county, we got Adams Road between Long Lake and Square Lake. Is going to be starting Monday. That'll close to southbound traffic on June 21st, and then remain closed to southbound traffic for several months. That's a major resurfacing project. We got a lot of concrete repair work going on Big Beaver and Troy. Another big one that's starting is Cranbrook Road between 14 Mile and Maple on the Birmingham-Bloomfield Township border.
Boy, you're just getting us in all directions, you know.
We are. It's a big construction season, and we're doing a lot of little resurfacing projects all over the county too. You might have seen these where we come in and we do really about 3 days worth of paving over about a 2-week period. We call it our preservation overlay program. We slap down 2 inches of new asphalt on a road, and you get a nice smooth new surface. That's relatively little pain for the gain that we get out of that, but big construction season.
So with that, Craig, just another minute or two with you here on the show. Do you have enough employees to get all these projects completed?
No. We, like everybody else, and like Doug just mentioned before us, we too are struggling to get people in the door, whether it's the temporary summer laborers we hire every year to help out in construction projects and maintenance projects, to civil engineers, to everything else. We're hiring, we're looking for people. So anybody who's looking for a job in the road industry and wants to work at a great place, please come to our website and look at our job postings.
Craig Bryson with us here on the Megacast, Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission of Oakland County. Craig, we always appreciate your time, but also thanks for clearing up some of the confusion around the survey. I'm going to go on and try to redo mine a few more times, since we have till the end of the day, right?
You do. Please do.
So we, again, appreciate your time, as always, and if we don't talk to you for a few weeks, have a nice summer.
Thank you. You do the same. Appreciate the opportunity.
We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be headed to the city of Pontiac. That's next here on the Megacast.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid. Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
Listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe. I went on and did the study, Tyler, in the break. It literally takes 2 minutes, so I'm trying to redo it several times to make up for the times that I took it before, because I want to change my input after listening to Craig.
I'm pretty sure it's an anonymous survey, but if it's not, are you just like switching the letters around in your name each time? Just doing a word scramble?
Well, no, at the end you can put in your email if you want to get more information, but this is going to have such a huge impact on our area. So for everyone, like I said, you want to take part. It takes no time, but when the decision is made, if you didn't go on and, listen to it and voice your opinion, then you have no right to complain.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Hey, because one of the things, too, it's one of the fastest routes. Like from our house, it's the only route into the city of Pontiac.
Right.
Pontiac has some exciting things going on this weekend. To talk a little bit more, let's bring in April Ogg. She actually owns Saginaw Street Consignments, but really kind of a big party there in Pontiac tonight, right, April?
Yes, it is. We will be having the street open downtown, and they've named it the Pontiac Art Jam.
So that's fun. So is this like one of those new social districts that they're creating?
Exactly. So Pontiac downtown restaurants and bars got their final approvals through the city after going to the state and applying for the social district drinking license. So you can now go to one of the restaurants or bars and take your cocktail out on Saginaw Street and Wayne, and from all the way from I believe the Phoenix Center all the way up to Lafayette, where I'm at on North Saginaw Street.
Because with that too, April, I have to ask, because you are kind of on the further end of Saginaw. So do you think by setting up this district and having, events like this, it's going to help bring traffic into your business, or at least let people know you're there?
Yes, it really should. And we also have not just, we have Liberty Bar is up here, and also across the street where the Menagerie Lounge was, I see a new restaurant going in there. So that's in the Lafayette Grand Masonic Temple building. So yes, and then next door we have, which was the Lafayette Market, which had closed during the pandemic, and now I believe there's a caterer in there. So hopefully they'll be opening and doing something up. But you can go and have a cocktail there and then come right across the street and shop with me. And that's what tonight is about, is they're launching their first evening event this Friday tonight from 5 to 10, and they've invited, the group has invited Canvas Pontiac, I'm saying is the group, has invited local artists and musicians to bring their wares down and put them up in the parks and then on the streets as well.
So will you be out on the streets, or you're just going to be in your shop there?
I will my shop will be open, so you'll be able to come in and shop and stroll and sip, shop and stroll. Yes.
Oh, I like that. Sip, shop, and stroll. You need to make that into a shirt.
They probably will. I'm sure they will. That'll be the next step for them. So this was a big launch. So we're really happy we had started. A group had gotten together and did the art crawls. So after the pandemic, we couldn't do anything. This is like the first big event in downtown Pontiac. So definitely come on out and check it out. And so far, they haven't started the meters. So on-street parking is free right now.
So that's good. You want to get there early to get the parking, because sometimes in these downtown areas, parking, and I will say I may have had a parking ticket or two in the city of Pontiac.
Oh, no.
My husband used to also get his hair cut down there, and every single time he'd get a ticket. But with that too, April, can we talk a little bit about your shop? If you ever go into April's store, it's a consignment shop, you just get lost. You never know what you're going to find in there. It's like a treasure hunt.
Yes, thanks. I have 5,000 square feet of showroom. I have 2 levels, upper and a lower level, and I try to maintain different vignettes. Areas like downstairs, which we'll get into, is my china and tabletop area, as well as like more antiques and farmhouse style and bedroom furniture, and then maybe larger tables. And then on the main level, I like to keep all the glassware and the crystal and maybe let's call higher end furniture, decorative, different accessories for your home, and very nice fine art.
I know if people are going to be sipping and strolling, you might want to put the breakables in a safer spot.
Yes.
It's definitely not a spot to bring your young children in, I will say that.
Right? Where do you find the items for your store?
Well, I have a website, www.saginawstreetconsignments.com, and people find me too. So aside from the referrals I receive, I get phone calls every day pretty much for people wanting to find a place to consign their items. So my website it comes up pretty on top pretty well, I believe, and I get the calls from them really. But I also do estate sales now. So I've gone into my 3rd year of estate sales. So all that information is on the website, as well as interior design. So I've been an interior designer for over 35 years in the residential and commercial. And a few of my projects are in Pontiac of the commercial buildings.
April Ogg with us here on the Megacast. She's the owner of the Saginaw Street Consignments. Downtown Pontiac tonight having the Art Jam, their new social district, hoping to bring a lot of people into Pontiac because April, I feel like so many of the businesses really need a boost after this past year.
Well, Pontiac, we really got hit hard because we also had the medical marijuana dispensary voter in 2018. I think it was 18 passed because it was 3 years. It took the administration 3 years to get through the licensing and finally announced. So we had literally over 23 or 25 properties on hold for 3 years, waiting to find out if they were one of the top 5 to get one of the licenses. So we've had empty storefronts. And so now that that's accomplished, I'm hoping everyone's going to move forward quickly and really get this going again. Yes.
So with that, April, if I can ask, going into the summer months, what will be your big sellers? Do you have a customer? You can greet them. Tell them to pop into the show.
Door, and they're coming on in, and they're looks like they've been here before, so they know what they're gonna look for.
Oh, well, tell them hi. Ask them if they want to be on the show.
Hello.
We'll help them shop. April's like, oh, okay. So what are your big sellers in the summertime?
Let's see. What have I been selling? Okay. great intro for this, because behind me I have 3 plates, some china tabletop. I have 3 different styles of a plate and a cup and a saucer, and these are full sets that I get in.
Wow.
So it's wedding season again. People can finally go out and have these nice big weddings. And yesterday, or just the other day, I had a lady come in who's doing a bridal shower for her daughter and found a beautiful set of vintage crystal stemware, so that all the ladies at the shower can have the same beautiful glass. And then she bought a bunch of random teacups and saucers for the coffees and some teapots, and she kind of mixed that all up. So that was kind of shabby chic, which was really cool. And behind me, I get beautiful sets of china. So if you are looking, if you're a new bride and you're gonna start something new, or you just moved and you want something beautiful, these are like 3 sets closest to me. I believe I have the Rosenthal Sansuchi set, which is very formal. That's like a set of 8 china. In the middle, I've got this brand spanking new, beautiful mid-century modern Lynn's china set, which is a set of 12. Plus, they all have servers, and some have coffee and creamer and sugar. And then furthest to me is more of like a country rose, very casual style. So I keep all my tabletop downstairs. I also sell on eBay. So if a set isn't complete when it comes in, I might break it up and put that out on eBay to sell for the customers. But when I get beautiful sets like this, you literally can come in and save a ton of money on a beautiful whole new set of china. So that's what I wanted to kind of display. And it was really fun yesterday helping this gal out, picking out different things for the shower. So I have beautiful, there might be a couple here behind me, little glass tidbit plates, so you can put snacks out, and tiered trays, and all kinds of wonderful items that you can fancy up your displays with at your showers and weddings.
I feel like vintage is cool again. Or am I?
Vintage is cool. In fact, I'm sitting in front of well, mid-century modern has always been hot. So behind me, I also have 3, the trifecta. I have the floor lamp and the pair of table lamps from a line called Mod Line. And they're kind of some people call it the cactus lamp, but they're walnut. And they have all the original shades. So that's something real hot. And I get random things in. So some things are, there should be something for anyone here, really.
I will say, April, like you said, mid-century modern is really hot right now, and I don't get it. It's not my style, but my brother, years ago, he's an artist, and he got a couple of these chairs from, I think, Habitat for Humanity, covered them for my sister's playroom. It was like a built stage, and, where you could play instruments and this, that, and the other. Well, the kids have grown up. My sister's like, I want my room back. Yeah. So my brother comes to get the chairs. He doesn't know what he has, so he brings them to the garage sale last weekend. And someone's like, oh, wait, no. They're like, how much do you want? He goes, oh, I don't know. And they were Steelcase, the brand Steelcase. I didn't know what that was.
One of the contract furnishing lines in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah. And so we ended up, I put them on Marketplace, and I got $250 for them.
Wow. Absolutely,
and he bought them for 10.
I have some in here as well. I mean, not Steelcase right now, but some of the older contract furnishing lines. And they were really, the contract furnishing lines were the ones that got these wonderful designers to come in and do these fabulous furniture and furnishing designs. And they're really the ones that, like Knoll and some of the other ones that Herman Miller, that put those types of chairs out, because they really were selling to the higher end executive offices as well. So, yeah.
So with that, April, what tips can you give to someone who is kind of a treasure hunter? I want to be one of those people that I buy a picture at a yard sale for $1, and then come to find out it's like, a Picasso and worth about $20 million. How can what advice do you give to people when they're out shopping?
Well, if you're looking for a lottery ticket to win, there's, going to be like one in how many, right?
I know.
So, I mean, really, it's about the hunt and enjoying it. So if it's something that you do like and it fancies you, just have some knowledge. It's really easy now, a little bit more with the our phones, our smartphones now. There's different apps you can get that you can take a photograph of something and then put it out on Google and like check it out, and things might come up that will help you decide whether or not that's the price point. And if you see something that like these chairs, that the people were honest with you and said, hey, no, I think those are a little bit more than what you're thinking here, $20 a chair. And you'll find that most people with knowledge will kind of help you. And if you do find that item that you're like, oh my gosh, I just got this, it's a beautiful paperweight, and it was worth $500, but the thrift store had it for $20, then love it,
That is so true. April Ogg with us here on the Megacast from Saginaw Street Consignments in downtown Pontiac. They are having the Art Jam tonight in Pontiac, which means that you want to go down, sip, stroll, and shop.
Yes, please do. Welcome, and come on down to Pontiac tonight. Thank you.
So with that, is there a fee to get in to the event?
No, this is a free event. The artists and different musicians will be outside. And then I believe there's a virtual concert featuring Pontiac musicians streaming on Facebook Arts Commission page. And I'm not quite sure that where they're at, but they're doing that on top of everything else. So they'll be streaming different musicians as well, I believe, on the speakers in the downtown area.
Yeah. Oh, I hate to say it, but we're all kind of over virtual concerts by now.
Yeah. Well, there'll be live performances as well. I know that I think the experimentation, they have someone there that's going to be doing something. So there will be live performances as well, yes.
Just another minute or two with you here, April, before we say goodbye. Can I ask you, what's the coolest thing you've ever found?
Okay, so I'm a little antique-y too, more vintagey. I like porcelains. And the one thing that I still use that I found years ago is a German porcelain piece, and it's a little tray, and it has like a little pan guy, a mythological pan playing a flute. And I have that on my vanity, and I keep I put my jewelry on it that I wear every day in my vanity. Yeah.
So it really is just trying to find the things that bring you joy, that sparks joy.
That sparks joy, that you'd like to, you go in your room, that you go in every day and you're like, oh, I love that still.
April Ogg with us here on the Megacast. April, where is your shop for those that maybe haven't been to Pontiac in a while?
Down right on Saginaw Street. I am north of 59 at 150 North Saginaw Street. I have a big round purple awning and big, huge display windows. You can't miss me. And I would like to interject, though. I forgot Mike McGinnis, with our Historical Society and the Pioneer House, the Wisner House. They're having a walk. There still might be tickets left. That is a fee. I believe it's $20. You can Google it. Pontiac Historical Walk. It's happening today and tomorrow on Saturday, and they'll take you on a historical walk through downtown.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Pontiac has some beautiful, old, amazing buildings, especially people take time to explore the city. April, we so appreciate your time. We'll see you tonight. I'll be sipping and strolling and shopping.
All right. See you, Ronnie. Thank you very much.
I'll try not to break anything. April Ogg with us again. Saginaw Street Consignments, downtown Pontiac. Great to see the city trying to get creative and bringing people back into that downtown area, because she had mentioned so many of those storefronts have been empty as the owners were waiting to see if they were going to get the medical marijuana license. So it's good to see businesses coming back into the area. But I really hope Pontiac thrives It's like they take these steps, but just can't seem to get over the hump. So hopefully this new social district and some of these events will help push it along, and we'll start to see it kind of rebound. That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be really nice. And a lot of these businesses that have moved in or were in before are locally owned businesses, people that do live in the city or live in the nearby areas. And so you're supporting local businesses as well. And the social district will encourage people to be more interactive with their local businesses, know the shop owners, know the employees, get to know the businesses, and develop new relationships that will hopefully lead to repeat business and a thriving downtown area. Exactly. We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll be speaking with the communications manager for Semcog. That's next here on the Megacast.
Walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us on the Megacast. We are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon in the studios here at civiccentertv.com or at Civic Center TV. The website's here too. That's fine. Yeah, but what I was about to say is if for some reason you are unable to tune into the show, you can always catch the previous episodes of the Megacast just by going to our website, clicking on Megacast, and all the shows are there way back from day one. And then if you only have time to watch an individual interview, you could do so. Just click on the on-demand section to find the interview that you want to watch. We really have had some great guests here on the show, and important guests as well. Yeah, we've had a lot of really interesting guests this week and been talking about a lot of important topics and projects that are going on in the local area, highlighting the business community as they sort of reset coming out of this pandemic and really getting to know what life is going to start to look like as we're coming out of COVID-19. And so we want to go ahead and continue the conversation surrounding, our governments, but also our waterways. So let's bring in Trevor Layton. He's the communications manager for Semcog, which is the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. Trevor, great to have you with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For those that aren't familiar with Semcog, give us a little bit of background about the mission, because you guys tackle a lot of different issues.
Absolutely. So Semcog, as you said, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. So there's a couple different ways to think of us. One is as a regional planning organization. So when you think about all the freeways, major arterial roads, water systems, economic development, parks, all these sort of big things that span across our region that affect quality of life in Southeast Michigan. Semcog is a place where local officials can kind of come together and coordinate and collaborate, because what somebody does in Pontiac, whether it's, opening a new shop or improving the ability for people who walk and bike to get around downtown, that's going to affect the people in Waterford and the choices that they make in their day-to-day life. So Semcog is a place where currently we've got 175 community members spanning the 7-county region of Semcog. So we get together, and it's a bipartisan place where we can work on all sorts of issues.
It's so nice to hear someone say those words, working together, collaboration, bipartisan. So with that, especially coming out of this past year where I feel like our politics have been so divisive, does that really have an impact on your organization, or are the leaders coming together and it's kind of their safe place to really have real conversations to better our communities?
Well, we certainly exist in the real world, so the challenges that exist in the political environment will have some impact on all of us, including Semcog. The thing that we're, I think, continuously grateful for is that, to a large degree, the local elected officials and government administrators and other partners that participate in Semcog, they tend to be self-selecting. These are people who want to collaborate. These are people who want to reach across the aisle. These are leaders, right? These are folks who have an experience and understanding of the positives that come forth when we work together.
That is so true. I just think about so many projects that have kind of failed, especially the one over there at Telegraph and Square Lake. That's been years in the making and such a nightmare, as it is still continuing on, and really kind of started with some of the communities not always coming together. But with that, I will say this is Great Lakes and Freshwater Week. Tell us more about that.
I would love to. So one of the things that's true of people in Southeast Michigan and throughout the state is that a big part of our identity, I think, is how we connect to the Great Lakes and to the abundant freshwater resources that we have access to in this region. We are extremely fortunate to live at the heart of the world's greatest freshwater resource, surface freshwater resource. So no place on the planet is there better access to do all the wonderful things that we can do on the Great Lakes, as well as our inland lakes, rivers, and streams. So what Great Lakes and Freshwater Week is an opportunity for us to reflect on that good fortune and also enjoy the resource that we have, and then think about what impact we can have as stewards to make the water resources that exist today continue to be wonderful places, maybe improve them, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come.
And with that, Trevor, if I can ask, because I do feel like maybe a positive to come out of the pandemic, we are being so much more aware about our environment and Mother Nature around us. And for so many of us here in our area, of course, that does include our lakes and our waterways. So do you feel, or have you seen the general public become more aware and more interested in protecting our waterways?
It's everything coming out of the pandemic. We're still kind of getting our feet under us and saying, what does it mean? How are things changing? What's staying the same? What do we want to double down on? And what do we want to move on from? So what I'll tell you in my experience working on this initiative, which has been really exciting, I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of leaders in the realm of water quality throughout our region, as part of our One Water initiative leading up to Great Lakes and Freshwater Week. And one thing that they're all really consistent about is the connection between having a personal connection to a place or to a water body for recreation, and then how that will just naturally shift into a mindset of stewardship. So, taking myself as an example, if I spend time recreating with my family along the Rouge River, for instance, which is the water body that I live closest to, if I'm taking my kids for hikes along the Rouge River, if I notice that there is garbage at the portion of the river that we're enjoying, I'm going to be a lot more likely to care when I see somebody say, there's an opportunity to volunteer and get involved and work on a river cleanup. So yeah, the data do show that, in the past 16 months or so, people are using our parks and recreation resources a lot more, which of course there's a huge overlap between those and our water resources. So the more people that are getting out and enjoying the resource, absolutely, the more of a connection we hope to see when it comes to stewardship.
So when you're sitting in your position and you guys are talking about some of these initiatives and projects that you're undertaking, how do you take that from the conversation in a room to actually putting it and implementing it and trying to engage the public?
Well, I think There's a really good point that you touched on there, which is that especially for a planning organization like Semcog, we are looking at things from a 10,000-foot view all the time, right? We're looking not only on a really broad scale, but we're also looking along a pretty significant timeline. But not everyone is going to be thinking that way. Not everyone is a planner. Not everyone is an engineer. And so for me, I'm not either of those things. So for me, as I described, the connection takes place when we have people getting out and engaging with the resource. So, most of us at some point in our lives have been to a beach and gone swimming. We may have even been to a beach to swim in this region. And so when we talk about things like water quality and a harmful algal bloom, well, an algal bloom, might not sound great when you're listening to it on the news, but if you go to the beach and it's closed because all this stuff's washing up on shore, and you start to think, why does this keep happening? And then you understand that there are actions that all of us can take to prevent them from happening. That's where I think where we connect the wonderful work that's happening at the government level from our local officials and all the work that they're doing to protect the resource and improve it, as well as what we can do as citizens and folks who live here to see that, well, we have a part in it too. It's our resource. So we can't necessarily lay down miles of drinking water pipe, but we can go out and make sure that we recreate responsibly.
We're talking with Trevor Layton here on the Megacast. He's the communications manager for Semcog, Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. Trevor, what other projects do you and your team members have going on right now?
Sure. So one of the really exciting things that we're working on at Semcog, and it's related to something that you just mentioned, which is that we're all still kind of going through, I think, a bit of a seismic shift in what life looks like and what we're all experiencing due to the pandemic. And so, as I mentioned, Semcog works on a variety of issues. I mentioned transportation, I mentioned parks and recreation. There's economic development, which involves things like, okay, so where are people setting up their offices? How are people working from home? Healthcare is obviously a huge issue, and that was before the pandemic even started. Obviously, we're aware of the healthcare challenges of the last year, but before that even happened, we knew that Southeast Michigan, like a lot of places in the country, is getting older. Our population is aging. The baby boomers are becoming there's this huge hump of our population curve that just is continuing to get older, which means that our needs in terms of quality of life and healthcare are really changing. Education and workforce is also a huge deal. So there were a number of trends that were in place before the pandemic, and then those have either been accelerated or altered in some way during the pandemic. So what we're trying to do now is look at the data and talk to the experts, talk to the folks who are on the ground and understand, okay, what we thought we knew about what was changing in the realm of water infrastructure or broadband a year ago, what parts of that are still true? What parts of that we thought we maybe had 5 to 10 years to really tackle have become more urgent? And then what have we learned through one thing that's really exciting about what's happened in the last year is a lot of local officials have just through necessity been forced to say, okay, we have a new problem, no one saw it coming, and there's no guidebook. I've got to come up with the solution. So by looking at the data, by talking to the experts, we're able to say, okay, what needs to change? What have we learned from the pandemic, and how can we get at that? And so what this initiative is, where we're looking at the new future of Southeast Michigan, we're going back to that data, and then we're hosting a series of community conversations with government officials and partners to look at these different issues and say, what's the same, what's changed, what have we learned, what do we need to do going forward?
So with that, Trevor, because I think it could be a fascinating time to be in the work that you all are doing, because we know sometimes our government doesn't move as quickly as some people feel like it should. Do you feel like because of the pandemic, everyone has had to think differently? Everyone has had to think outside of the box. And some of that will carry over into the future because maybe we're not going to go back to the old ways.
I think that's a great point. So not only are we going to be thinking differently about the way we do things, but I think that one of the challenges that local government officials have faced for a long time, particularly in Michigan, is it may look, in some instances as though folks are reluctant to change or to do things differently. But the reality for almost every local government in Southeast Michigan is that they have faced severe funding challenges. And when you don't have access to resources that enable you to evaluate what you're doing and make improvements, it can appear as though folks are apathetic or something, which is, in my experience, not the case. Local officials, in my experience, are hardworking and conscientious, and they're open to creative solutions. Now, one of the things that's also happened in the last year is we've had and we are continuing to have, that's going to be rolling out in the next several months and years, an influx of funding from the federal level, the likes of which we haven't seen in quite some time. So when you talk about the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure funding talks that are going on at the federal level right now, those are creating different kinds of opportunities for local governments and state governments to make investments. And what's really important about having a sound planning process is that sometimes we don't know where the solution is going to come from, but we still have to be ready for it when the opportunity presents itself. So, when you have big influxes of funds for something like the American Rescue Plan, it's why a place like Semcog is really important, because we have a lot of communities that are experiencing similar challenges. They're all going to get some cut of federal funding, but there are also projects that cross municipal boundaries, that cross county boundaries, that may be throughout the state or even into other states. So it's figuring out how we get coordinated around how to invest these dollars in the way that's going to make the biggest impact now, which goes back to what you say. Okay, what we thought the biggest priority was 18 months ago, is that still true? Do we know if you had told a community you're going to get an influx of $5 million 18 months ago, what do you want to do with it? That answer might be different now than it was 18 months ago. And so it's making sure that we're taking a balance of the legacy information and the lessons that we've learned over time with all this new data that we've experienced in the form of all of our unique experiences during the pandemic.
Where do you collect your data from?
It comes from a range of resources depending on the topic. So when it comes to demographic and population information, we're taking that directly from the United States Census and American Community Survey, which is why promoting the census was a really challenging but important task that we took on last year with a lot of other partners throughout the state. Because when we understand how many people are living and working in different parts of our region, we understand a little bit better the need for resources. When it comes to transportation, we work with partners like the Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, as well as local road agencies to actually go out and collect data on the condition of our roads and bridges, which actually means you have people that are trained to look at a road and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 and say the quality of this road, it's good, it's fair, or it's poor. And so we're actually collecting that data on a rolling basis to understand these things. As more of these new topics emerge, we're having to look to different data resources. So when it comes to broadband, which is a really quickly emerging topic, we knew it was important before the pandemic, but once you told a huge amount of people, well, now you're going to school at home or you're working from home, broadband challenges that may have seemed like I said before, maybe a 5-year challenge, they suddenly became a 5-day challenge because we got to be ready to go to school on Monday. So looking to the FCC and then figuring out where some of the gaps in the data are, where can we look to find more data resources to help tell the story that we need to get these solutions going. So it's really a variety of sources.
Trevor Layton with us here on the Megacast, Communications Manager for Semcog. And with that, Trevor, where can people find out more information? Because I know Semcog is always working on so many projects that really have big impact and influence on our communities as a whole.
100%. So anytime, come to semcog.org is our website, www.semcog.org. You can see what we're up to there. As we discussed before, there's an exciting initiative we're working with partners across the region on, including a couple of really key partners in Oakland County, including Jim Nash, the Water Resources Commissioner. He's participating in this One Water and Great Lakes and Freshwater Week campaign. You can see a special video we made with him on mi1water.org. a whole bunch of information about the One Water and Great Lakes and Fresh Water Week initiative there, filled with wonderful tips of how we can all be good stewards. So understanding, not only the address of where you live, what's your watershed address, what's the impact of what you put down your drain, why does it matter that you keep storm clippings clear of your storm drain? All this information is available there at mi1water.org. I'd really encourage folks to check that out.
Well, we so appreciate your time today. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much.
I always learn so much on this show, Tyler.
Yeah, we learn a ton. We learn and about a lot of different topics too. Like here, we're talking about water issues, but also how our government's been learning and how to better operate, and our leaders have been learning how to better operate their cities and our region as a whole as a result of the pandemic.
So with that, we'll take a quick break here on the Megacast. Just about 20 minutes left here in the Friday edition of the show. And when we come back, we'll be joined with Senator Rosemary Baer. That's next here on the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. Just about 20 minutes left in the show. And Tyler, we were just talking about broadband and the internet. And, with this pandemic, it has really put this issue on the forefront. We knew that it needed to be addressed at one point in time, but let's hope the silver lining coming out of the pandemic and this crisis is the discussion around the internet. And one of the people that's helping to really push this issue, State Senator Rosemary Baer, with us here. She's represents District 12. Always great to have you with us.
Thank you, Ronnie. It's always great to be here. Hello, Tyler. Nice to see you guys.
Before we jump into talk about the budget, can we talk a little bit about internet and the access and some of the legislation that's moving forward around this issue?
Yeah, I swear every time I come on, Ronnie, you're already talking about something I really care about and I'm really involved in. I love it. I started working on it almost as soon as I got to Lansing a couple of years ago because I'm technical. This is so much in my space, and working with the school districts to start with. And we started pulling together data, and we actually got some funding to help out from the Mott Foundation, which is wonderful. And then we had to kind of take a break and do emergency relief on the networks so that students had access to, because I had this sneaking suspicion in March a year and a half ago that we were going to not be in school that fall. So we ran out and we actually got some funding. We built, Wi-Fi hotspots and, other ways to emergency access for all kids. It was really, really critical. So we made a huge dent, but it was not the long-term high-speed internet that we really need to every household, every building, every business, all of it. So that work just picked back up. And then if you were watching the news this week, the governor made our first big announcement with the Office of High-Speed Internet opening up, and it's going to be part of the LEO, the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity in the state government. And that's a big deal for us. So we also introduced a set of bills to kind of go along with that. Our philosophy on this from the ground up is that everyone needs access. It also needs to be affordable, right? It's not just about having the connection to your house, but to something you can actually pay for or get, and then to have the knowledge of how to use it. So we can't forget that piece. There's a lot of seniors who didn't grow up with computers. We are concerned about kids always, but they already know how to use it. They just need access, right? But the seniors and people that are living in poverty that never had that. So the bills that we introduced address some initial funding for things, right? There's grants for regional projects. There's grants for emergency relief kind of projects, but there's also education programs for specifically for people to how to use it safely, and things that help municipalities kind of take a little bit of the initiative to build their own local networks. Many municipalities have towers that they're using for 4G or 5G access throughout the community. You could use that and extend that to be a service to your people in your network. And so bills will enable that or allow that to happen. We're going to continue that work. So there are other public assets that we've paid for, like there's a broadband network that connects all of the school districts in the state that could be extended and provide service to people who live near those school districts. And that's most of the communities in the state that have a school district. So things like that make it easier for us to use what we already have in place, and then also to enable things in the really rural parts of the state where you just are going to need ways. We're going to have either a whole series of towers or a cable that runs, and they're going to need help with that. So the Office of High-Speed Internet will be able to facilitate those things. All the money that we're starting to see coming in for infrastructure, broadband or high-speed internet access is a big piece of that. So we're really excited. We feel like we're finally actually starting to move forward on multiple fronts. It's a big deal.
And how long do you think this maybe would have taken to get to this level had the pandemic not happened?
Well, the funding, that's been our big one of our big issues. There are other ways. A year and a half ago, Senator Stabenow got a grant through the Agriculture Department in the federal government to build internet access, high-speed access for 2 counties in kind of this part of the Midwest. So, but doing that takes a long time. Yeah. So we were getting pieces of it, but this way we're looking at, can we get this whole thing done in a couple of years, and I think we might be able to do that.
And when we're talking about the government, that is really impressive, actually.
I know, moving fast is not something government does.
Right. And, but it is an issue that I think everyone can get on board with. Maybe, there are differences surrounding how to do things and where to get from point A to point B, but I think everyone appreciates the importance of high-speed internet right now for all of us, But with that, too, I know that you're going to be doing a talk coming up about state and federal budget and how it all works. I think I'm kind of a nerd, but I think it's fascinating and exciting and really educational for the public.
Well, that's great. I can talk about it endlessly, so you might have to shut me off. I'll watch for you to wave at me or something, but because that's most of my committee work is in budgets. I'm on 5 of the budgets. Personally, and I'm on the main appropriations committee for the Senate in the state of Michigan. And so, not only do we have to craft the budget for Michigan, I'm constantly talking to our federal representatives about what the state needs, what the budget what they should be offering to us. And when we started all of the COVID relief funding that started last year, a year ago this time, right? We've been talking to them since then. This is the kind of stuff to focus on. First, it was almost entirely about schools and what are we going to do in the fall, right? But now we're moving on to other things, and big funding right now going to municipalities. Almost half of the money coming in the ARP, the America's Rescue Plan, is going to our communities so that they can start to recover revenue-wise all the things that they lost when those businesses shut down and there were no tax revenues, So, and then the next one is mostly about infrastructure, which makes sense, right? We're now ready. We need this broadband. We have water. You were just talking about water. We have huge ways where we need to improve our water system, the clean water, the wastewater, all of it. So
bridges,
like the bridges, yes, exactly. Roads and bridges are huge. I know that there is a proposal in place right now to get bridge funding for basically all the bridges in the state out of the ARP funds. I mean, so we are really looking at using the money that's coming in. These is big dollars for this state that we did not expect, that we would never have been able to plan in our budget, to make investments like bridges, like high-speed internet, like water pipes, those things that we have just been really struggling to bring up to par, right? They're old. Our infrastructure has been aging out, and we haven't had the funds to fix it. So this is a huge opportunity for Michigan. And we're working really hard to make sure we take the most advantage of it, for sure.
Rosemary, bear with us here on the Megacast. She represents District 12. And Senator, if I can ask you, though, when we're talking about this, and it is a lot of money, what surrounds the discussion of how do we pay it back? This is going to be, our kids' that are going to be stuck with this bill.
Yeah. It's kind of the bigger, kind of broader economic question, right? We have been depressed in the country for a while economically, and some of it has to do, a lot of it has to do with wages and employment and, what people are actually doing. And so part of the work that's going on, the money that we're borrowing now is actually going to jumpstart the economy in a different way. And I think if you think back to the post-World War II days, we sort of went through the same kind of thing. We had to do something really dramatic to jumpstart the economy. And we borrowed a lot of money and we built a lot of roads and bridges, and we built houses and water pipes and all the things that we did with that we then didn't keep maintaining. So we're kind of looking at that, almost the same thing again. There are some new pieces like the internet, right? That's not really something that, although there were telephone lines and electrical lines and, just overall the infrastructure, there's such big expenses there, but that means that huge amounts of work go into this reconstruction. This is a good way to look at it. We're actually getting the opportunity to rebuild things that have been sitting there since the New Deal.
And we really need to have a skilled workforce to be able to, for these companies to hire to get the work done.
And that's the wage challenge right there. Exactly. We need those people to be at that level. A little bit more training, right? You go to apprentice schools, you go to, there's all kinds of opportunities right now and all kinds of help from the state government to pay for that, right?
And when we're looking at that as well, with the federal dollars, do they have to be used within a certain amount of time?
Most of them have a timeout. It's generally 3 years. And I don't know if that will stay that way in every project. When you think about infrastructure, it's possible that one has a longer timeout, right, when we get that, because those are big projects. We're talking about new high schools. We're talking about, all the new bridges even, right? Those things take some time. And there is going to be a shortage of workers. So we can't, even if we could identify how we're going to spend all the money that's coming in ARP and the next one, we don't have all the people to get all those projects up and running. It's going to take some time. So, and that's part of the communication with our federal representatives. But I got to say, they're pretty smart people. They already knew that.
Because when we're talking about the infrastructure, it's like you said, that there's usually a very long timeline associated with some of these projects, 5, 10, 15 years. I mean, look, I-75's been under construction as long as I've been alive.
I think so, yes.
Definitely as long as time.
Right? That's for sure.
Yeah, it's not done. So yeah, I know, and they know that. I mean, that is the thing. But that's what we're thinking about. So I expect we'll see, because the first bill had a very short time out, and they've been extending appropriate to the work that the federal government is the problems that we're trying to attack. So I think we're going to be in good shape with this stuff as we go forward.
What other things do you have going on in your district?
Well, my district, we have one of the most interesting districts, of course, because we have everything from, socioeconomically, it's a big variety of communities. And we also have a very diverse set of people internationally and, in every other way. So it's really fun. And I spend, one of the main reasons I went to Lansing was about education. And so when I first met with our team, and what do you want to work on? Well, of course, it's education. And so I have the education budgets as part of my work, but I also work on legislation around that. And so the issues, it's really an interesting job because I am working on these huge budget changes right now that are going on, right? How are we going to do the right things? I talk to our superintendents all the time. We have regular meetings with school board members. We have a meeting every month that any school board member can join. And we have, so we're talking about new schools. We're talking about little things that, it might seem like a small thing as there's no legislation required. It's a rules change, but we should not make kids do PSAT tests on the first day of Ramadan, for example, when they're fasting. So things like that you hear about because we have this diverse set of people in our district. This is something that impacts everybody. If you have a circumstance you can't go that day that's scheduled for PSAT, you need to have some flexibility. So it can be something that feels small, but it has a big impact on the people. So spend a lot of time. Right now, the focus is on teachers in many ways. We are facing a huge shortage of teachers. The governor has made a couple of proposals on ways to start to address that from an immediate perspective of paying off student loans to have teachers who will go work in at-risk or rural districts, right, that are hard to fill, or to additional opportunities for training for them, for certifications. So kind of, ways to make the current teaching staff more respected and feel better about their work and want to stay. And then also recruiting new teachers, even to the point of working in high schools with counselors to elevate the profession of teaching again, to where kids are looking ahead to that. Because the pipeline in our teaching universities, the programs where they do education, we do not have much of a pipeline.
Yeah, years ago, my roommate in North Carolina, she was from, I think, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina recruited her to come down and be a teacher. She taught at the English at the junior high, and they paid for her to get her master's. And it didn't matter what her master's was in. So other states have been creative for years about trying to address this problem, and it's, I think, going to continue. Just another couple minutes left with you here on the show before we have to say goodbye for the week. Anything else that you want to bring up to your constituents?
The newest thing we got this week was, I think, the Secretary of State services, the proposal that actually it's not a proposal, that they're actually changing the way they do services to support more online services, because then you can do more without having to go into the office, but make sure people don't have to wait a long time to get an appointment. So they're incrementally adding 25% more appointments. And then they can even go farther than that with a little boost from the legislature on funding. But also they're going to have greeters in every single branch. So if you go there and you need, you could get an appointment right on the spot if there's one available, or they will do it for you right there. They'll book your appointment right there. So for people that are not comfortable with the internet, or like we were talking about earlier, maybe they don't have a computer, don't know how to do that kind of stuff. So they're really boosting the service level. I think it's going to be a lot better for everybody. So we were kind of excited to hear that plan, that rolling out a new way to look at this office. That was her original promise, if you remember, when she was running for office, when she first got there, it was to stop those lines that we all waited in at the Secretary's
now
State's office.
you don't have the line. You just can't get in. You're sitting.
Right. So now she's fixing that problem. Now she's fixing that problem. Yeah. And,
I think the delays. If you couldn't get in to get an appointment, you have an expired plate. Right. You shouldn't be able to be ticketed right now.
Well, we actually just passed out of the Senate yesterday a bill to extend that date, so we don't get any fines or anything. So. That will be taken care of, but it's good that we're focused on it, and then it should get better very soon. Right away, actually.
Fingers crossed. The State Center, it's always great having you. I feel like every time you're on the show, you're just like this ray of light. And for a politician, that is great. Like it seems to me like you're excited every day that you go into the office.
There's so many ways to help. There's so many ways to make it better. You can't, you just got to love this job. That's all.
Well, we always appreciate your time. So we want to say thank you. And with that, we want to thank everyone for taking time to be with us this week. Thanks to Jake and Larry as well for all the work that you do behind the scenes to get us on each and every day. This has been the Megacast.